Well, how does the American academia community perceives the study and the teaching of hip hop, and which are the biggest challenges that you have overcome as a hip hop teacher?
Wow, those are two really good questions. So, I mean, you know, I was teaching at Stanford, and I had a lot of folks and friends at the so-called elite universities that were doing that. There are thousands of people who are teaching hip hop in universities now. You know, it's a huge thing, because it's really important for folks to be able to kind of understand the importance of what hip hop has, you know, done for the culture, the larger culture. And so there's a million different ways that people can kind of come at it. English, sociology, right? Cultural studies, like whatever, all these different types of ways. Music, of course, you know, dance, theater, all of these different types of ways of coming at it. Art. So I've been happy and blessed to see in my lifetime that change. Because I remember the time when there was like very few people doing it. There was like one person, you know, or two people that were doing it. People like Trisha Rose, people like Mark Anthony Neal, both of them from the Bronx. And, you know, they were pioneers breaking through for us. But now it's taught all across the board. I mean, for me as a teacher, the main thing has been to try to get people to understand, young folks to understand, and not just young folks, but folks to understand, you know, what the roots of this are, to talk about the kinds of things that you and I have been talking about. To be able to put that out there and let people know, like, this is a peace culture. This is an alternative to the world as you see it. You know, this is an alternative to a worldview that's shaped by war and dividing and exclusion and oppressing people. That's like ultimately, I think, what our work is, man. And it's not the easiest thing to do, to get up in the morning and do that every day, because, you know, society puts scales over our eyes. It tries to make us think that we can't do things, that we can't express our power.
And diminish ourselves as a culture.
Exactly, yes.
And always having these barriers, that hip-hop is not this, is not that, is not that good. So actually it's a resistance, but I find it profoundly fascinating to have also a trench in academia, and that now you mentioned it as a global phenomenon. Well, not global, but national phenomenon.
It is a global phenomenon.
Well, hip hop, yes, but the
hip hop scholarship.
Hip hop scholarship.
Hip hop studies. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Obviously, hip hop is global.
Yeah.
It's universal. But I mean the we can get into some Star Wars shit, and definitely. And Master Yoda will be the MC, and you know, Darth Vader will be the DJ. You hear me?
That's right. Yeah. He got the funk, I'm sure.
Definitely. He got the dark funk, you know what I mean? Anyways, getting back to
how we started with academia, and we ended up with Darth Vader. That's dope.
Yeah, definitely. It had to go together.
It had to go there.
I mean, humor is a basic aspect of human life, and it's a basic aspect of hip hop.
Yeah, joy, man.
Yeah, definitely.
Resistance, man.
Yeah,
definitely.
Joy is resistance.
Yes, joy is resistance. Yeah.
And well, we're gonna go to the third chapter of this interview, which is called the hip hop industry.
Ooh.
We had to go there.
Just stiffened up a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, I'm feeling kind of stiff.
I know.
But anyways, let's get into it.
All right, let's get into it.
Yeah. So, what was the role of the music corporations and the big record labels in transforming rap music into a mainstream global phenomenon?
Right. Yeah, I mean, you know, there were a lot of records around hip hop in '78 and early '79, you know, that were rap records, but you know, it took like an independent label to kind of lift up Rapper's Delight and get it out there, and then it just hit, right?
Sugar Hill Gang,
Rapper's Delight, and once that record hit, like it was all around the world like that, right?
Okay, so that was 1979.
That was 1979, yeah, summer of 1979, fall of 1979, I should say. And so what happens from that particular record, you know, moving out is you start hearing literally, you know, these rap crews that were doing things for their live shows, putting stuff on wax.
Yeah.
And then by 1980, 1981, they start figuring out, oh, actually, this is a different type of thing. And so we're making music now for the record, so it can be heard on radio or in the nightclub, or that kind of thing, as opposed to being a duplication of a live show. So that was the first big thing, you know? And then I think what you see is the songs get shorter, right? And it's more focused on the rapper than on the DJ, right? And so the rapper becomes more prominent in the scene than the DJ, and that changes the whole game for hip hop in a lot of ways.
And it outlawed for say like the DJs from the mainstream platform, because it was all about the MC, right?
Yeah.
But from there, how did the DJs make their comeback, and how hip-hop culture as a whole recognized the vital role of the DJ in the culture? Because without DJ, there ain't no culture, as far as I'm concerned.
You know, I think what happens is you start seeing the DJ. I mean, the DJ is there as, you know, as the DJ all the way through, as the club DJ, as a party DJ, as the person who's still rocking the parties and that kind of thing. But once you have the thing going through the industry and, you know, out on MTV and on, you know, all these other kinds of platforms that are selling, like, you know, the live gigs and stuff are you're not going to make as much money on that kind of thing. Corporations aren't focusing on the live gigs. They're focusing on the records. They're focusing on promoting that kind of stuff. So, you know, it becomes a song format where it's verse, chorus, and that continues to move all the way and up into, you know, the MP3 age. You know, out of the vinyl, the cassette and the CD into the MP3 age.
But for example, the role that, I don't know, Bad Boy, for example, Interscope Records, you know, all the big players in the game.
Well, in the mid '90s, what you see is like hip hop is hitting its peak, right? It goes mainstream in the mid '90s. Right after Dre, and with Bad Boy and Death Row, what you see is really hip hop reaching its commercial peak.
Right.
So it peaks out in like 2000, and it's really literally controlling the whole pop market, you know, at that particular point. So that's the peak of power. But after that, you know, the record industry goes in the toilet, and hip hop like gets defunded. All the people get fired. You know what I mean? Like the whole infrastructure of the industry is wiped out. And so, you know, I'm just talking about the U.S., right? I'm not talking about what's happening in France or Mexico
or Germany
or England, right? But in the U.S., hip hop takes a huge nosedive in the 2000s. You have like a few huge stars and then like a deep underground here. And now I think it's different. Now I think it's an era where you have, because of the internet, a lot of folks kind of like coming out and being able to establish themselves, you know, find their own platforms, whether it be via SoundCloud or whatever, you know, social media or whatever, all the different types of ways that you can get your music out digitally and stream it. People can find their platforms now. And so it's a much different industry than it was back then, because there are many, many, many more rappers and MCs out there, right? Much more music out there, and there's, I think, beginning to be a little bit more of this ecosystem from the grassroots all the way up to the big stars. Again, but it took a long time to rebuild.
So recapitulating, it was the corporations that made hip hop global with this blow up of Dre and the West Coast and the Tupac, Biggie beef, East Coast, West Coast type of thing. But nowadays, in the 10s, if I may say that, the 2010s years, the promoting of independent artists, thanks to the technologies, gave this do-it-yourself mindset to the underground community and to the underground record labels, which now dominate the underground market and are connected with Spotify, and they got the YouTube action unlocked type of thing. So with this said, there are two major powers that actually confront themselves in hip hop music, which is like the boom bap. And the organic sound of hip hop and the musical tradition that actually carry on the legacy of all the greats, from Cool Herc to Pete Rock to all of those cats, and to Kev Brown, even in the new things, but the underground manifestations of the hip hop art that actually are authentic and real, and they're keeping it both real and right. And on the other hand, we have this current inclination of trap music and mumble rap, and Little What and Young Who, and all of these cats that the market has been so intensely financing those projects, and then the mainstream as a whole has been having this inclination. So I was wondering, what are your current thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I'm not down on trap or mumble rap. I think it's all part of the same spectrum of expression. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think a lot of these folks were starting as independent rappers and built up their own kinds of work as well. You know what I mean? So you look at a lot of these folks. They're coming from hustle and building audiences in their cities and whatnot before they're blowing up really big and stuff. And I actually don't think that record labels have a fraction of the kind of power they had back then in the 90s and in the early 2000s. They don't have the budgets, they don't have the people, they don't have the brain power. I think disrespect to some folks to some friends of mine who are in the industry, but I think the smartest people in the industry are folks like the top dog folks, like folks who are thinking about how to make this happen on an independent type of level, how to build up artistic power. Right? Yeah. Those are the folks who are kind of really doing it right.
Wow.
And so for me, I see it like a little bit differently from the way that you see it. I see it as the type of thing where, there's a lot of these different types of styles that come from different kinds of histories, different kinds of backgrounds. The trap sound comes from the South. It's really influenced by
crunk.
Yeah, by crunk, and in turn, going back to the Afro-Caribbean roots of hip hop. You know what I mean? Like the sound of it, like you put that next to stuff that's coming from the Caribbean now, and you can hear the linkages of it. You know what I'm saying? Like the kinds of lines that traced up to those types of things. Whereas boom bap, comes a lot more from the funky blues-based types of sounds that were there in the 60s and the 70s,
and the jazzy and the soul,
and jazz and all that stuff, which I'm partial to because that's the era that I came up in.
Yeah.
But all of this stuff comes from the same roots. As far as same raíces as you would put it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So
the same roots.
So it branches to different kinds of places.
Yeah.
So
and there is in my perspective there is a certain valid trap music making, that it's honest and it's organic and it has a message to it, and it has the
Yeah, and then a lot of it is just party shit, right?
Yeah, the possibility of changing the world changing a person's life.
Yeah.
But on the other side, and my main critic about it, it's the trivialization of the music itself and of the culture itself, and for people externally to think, oh well, you know, hip hop is what I see on trap videos, and it's not necessarily that. What are your comments in that?
Yeah.